Another, I guess, would be a headwind for the restaurant sector is remote work. So, in a lot of ways, people are going back to work. Maybe you see that business lunch hour pick back up, but there are plenty of remote working that is it's here to stay. You know, a lot of companies have fully pivoted. So, John, what can you tell us about what categories are really going to be hurt by the trend of remote work sticking around?
Yeah, one of the things that I think that we can tease out of Darden's results. So Darden Restaurants, that is Olive Garden, Longhorn Steakhouse. What's the other big one? It escapes me at the moment. But in any case, they have a whole portfolio of restaurants that they operate. One of them is Capital Grille, and this is in their fine dining category. And when you look at where Capital Grille is located, it's in a lot of big cities and downtowns. And those comparable sales are still very much down. That was the worst performing part of Darden's business in 2020. When you think about when people are using this kind of a restaurant, it's oftentimes as a business lunch. You go to the office, you grab lunch with coworkers at a place like this. So that is still struggling very much. And fortunately for Darden, they're not a pure play on this. So it kind of gets absorbed into their overall business results. A company that was public a few years ago named Del Frisco's, they were kind of more of a pure play. I would imagine that they're having a very rough time as remote work is, at least here in a hybrid fashion, right? Seems like some of us are going back to the office, but maybe not as much as we were pre-pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be one to keep an eye on. Definitely not seeing that immediate bounce back in the finer lunch dining type of eating. So let's briefly talk about delivery. So, you know, the pandemic, that was a tailwind for delivery. Some of the delivery stocks are better than others. The big names, DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Postmates is, I believe, private. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jeremy, is there any of these delivery stocks that you think are the most attractive today in terms of the traditional delivery stocks?
Sure. I think going into the pandemic, I was pretty bearish on this whole sector, and I think the unit economics really look pretty ugly in a lot of ways. I think they're sort of squeezing customers on one end and then squeezing restaurants as well. I mean, some cities even implemented a cap on commissions to the delivery apps during the pandemic, and I think I saw San Francisco even voted to make theirs permanent. But I think what happened is the pandemic has just sort of transformed the industry, and delivery is not going away now. I think we know that. These companies have got millions of people signed up to use these services over the last year, and that we've sort of become habituated to them as well. The restaurants have added the infrastructure as well, and they're used to doing things this way. I think the three major companies here, and Postmates, you mentioned Uber actually acquired Postmates not too long ago.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been a lot of consolidation in the industry over the years, and Grubhub is getting bought out by Just Eat Takeaway, which is a European company. But yeah, I mean, I think that each company brings something different to the table. I mean, Grubhub was kind of the early disruptor and early in the sort of online ordering interface, but then got disrupted by Uber and DoorDash, who had their own basically armies of drivers that work for them. And then DoorDash now has a majority market share in the industry with about 57% last I checked. And so I think they've been able to have so much success. They pitched themselves in suburban locations and got a lot of restaurant chains that you might not think of as being delivery friendly, like Cheesecake Factory, the sort of casual dining places. And I think they work more with the restaurant side to sort of build those sales rather than, you think of Uber as sort of a reputation for being more aggressive and just grabbing market share. And I think they might have lost some restaurant customers that they otherwise would have gotten. So, and DoorDash has a bigger picture idea of sort of just being a delivery app for everything, whether it's, your order from Walgreens or your supermarket or, something from the hardware store. So I think, I think of these companies right now, I like DoorDash the most. I think that, that's the most interesting, and to me, it's an interesting one to watch in the space.
Awesome. So let's talk about the kind of the side you don't think about with delivery. Who is making these apps? And Jeremy has a really interesting stock that is new to me that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to talk about this a little later as well, but yeah, Olo is they're sort of the restaurant-facing counterpart to delivery apps. They just had their IPO in March. So this company, Olo stands for online ordering, so that's basically what they do for restaurants. They've been around they were founded in 2005, but they really exploded in growth during the pandemic and in recent years as online ordering delivery has taken off. But they work for the restaurants. You think of Uber and DoorDash stuff. They're really pitching the end customer to order through them, and then they, obviously have to get the food from the restaurants. But they're more customer facing. And Olo is also, I think, is interesting. It's really a tech stock. They use the SaaS model, software as a service, which has been a great model for a lot of the cloud stocks we've seen recently. So, so that's I think they're maybe a better option than DoorDash, because restaurants want to work with them. Restaurants are hiring them directly, as opposed to there's a lot of tension with the DoorDashes and the Uber Eats of the world. So I think maybe Olo is a better place to look.